Hello, in this video we're going to go over loops in Python. The way to do this is to write a program where we ask the user to input an email address, and we can validate that it has an @ symbol and a period in it. Now this doesn't mean it's necessarily a valid email address, but those are two things that you would need in an email for it to even begin to be valid. So let's go ahead and get started. So, let's see here. Let's ask for input first. So, let's see. Get email from user. Say string equals input. Please enter an email address. And set. Now we're going to create variables to hold counts of the @ sign and the period. So that way we know if something, we know if an @ symbol is in there because we're going to count if there's an @ symbol or a period in there, and if there is, we'll increase the count, and then at the end we'll check to see if the count is greater than 0, then we'll know that if the count of both of the period and the @ symbol are greater than 0, then we'll know that, well, there's at least an @ symbol and a period in there. So we'll set the @count to 0. So @count equals 0. We'll do the same thing for the period. So set period count to 0. So the wrong key there. So if we'll do So we'll do if must got rid of my count. So we'll do double period count is equal to 0. Then if the string, we'll do for, this is where we'll do a for loop. So what we'll do is we'll iterate over the string and we'll see what's in it. So the way a for loop works is, for the most part, there's a few ways you can do it. The way we'll be doing it in this one is we'll be doing for some item in this iterable object, loop over it until I've looped over each item. And an iterable item can be several things you can do, but many times it's lists and dictionaries that you're looping over. So to do that, we'll do a comment, so iterate over each character and the email address. So we start with a for. So for each, and this is the items that are in the list or string. Strings and lists are very similar in how you can iterate over them, or dictionaries. So so for each character in the string, if the character is @ sign, then so this is the checking and adding, and if it equals if the character is equal to an @ sign, we'll increase the @ count by 1. So if character is equal to @ sign, that symbol, then let's add 1 to the @ count. So @ count equals, actually we'll do so you can either do equals @ count plus 1. You're just adding 1 to itself, or a shorthand way of doing this is doing plus equals. Alright, so now that we've done that, so if it's not the @ sign, it could be, so if the character is equal to period, then add 1 to the period count. So same thing, we'll do period count plus equals 1. And from there, so once we're done iterating, so now we'll do that for each character in the string, and then once that loop is done, and again, like if statements, you have to indent the logic that you want to be in the for loop. Once we're done with the for loop, we'll have another if statement, and we'll say if the @ count and the period count are greater than 0, so if the @ count is greater than 0 and the period count is greater than 0, then we'll just say the email is valid, even though we know that it's not necessarily a valid email, but for the sake of this, we'll say it is. We'll print string, we'll say is a valid email. And we'll do an else. So if neither of those counts are greater than 0, then we'll say actually if both counts aren't greater than 0, this email is invalid. It's invalid email. Alright. So that should be everything we need to check that. So if we run that, so please enter an email address. Okay. Well, let's do Acme. Actually, we'll do admin at acme.com. Alright. So it has an @ symbol and a period. According to our program, it's valid. So what if we add, what if we forget our .com and we say admin at acme? Ah, it's invalid. I'm missing it. We're missing a period. Alright. So notice how I have to keep running this over and over again. Well, what if I had a whole bunch of emails, or maybe not a whole bunch, but maybe a few that I wanted to check, but I didn't want to run this each time. So there's another type of loop besides a for loop called a while loop. And a lot of times while loops are used to continually loop over logic until a certain condition is met. So, for instance, if you wanted to keep the program running and prompting the user until a certain condition is met. So the condition that we would want to meet is the user types exit instead of an email. Then we can exit out of the program, or else just keep prompting the user for an email. So to do this, we'll set we'll establish a variable that we want to use for exit. So we'll do set exit to false. Do exit equals false. Alright. So for this to work, once we do the while loop, so while exit is false, keep asking for an email address. We'll do while. So since exit is equal to false, which is a Boolean, we'll do while exit. So while not exit, which means while exit is false, loop over this logic. But to do that, just like the for loop and if statements, we need to indent the logic that we want to run inside that loop, which is everything that we had previously. So we'll move everything over underneath it, and you can just a quick tip here, you can select the way you want, and then once you have it selected, if you just press the tab button, it tabs over. So while not exit, we'll ask for user inputs, set the counts equal to 0. But what if so now we need to check to see if the user has typed the word exit. And if they have, then we don't want to go loop over our logic for checking for @ signs and periods. So let's do another if statement here. We'll do our comment first. So if the string is exit, so and then if the string is equal to exit, say sets exit to true, stopping while loop. Exit equals true. Alright. So if we were to just leave it like this, it would meet this condition, but it would still run through this because it doesn't check for the while condition until it comes back up to the loop. So it'll come through all this logic and then come back to the top, and then that's when it'll check exit again. So if we to I guess more or less be a little quicker on our program. This program's not very big, it doesn't matter too much, but for good practice, we'll put everything else in here as in an else statement. So if this isn't true, then we'll do everything else. So else validate email. should be able to run this now, and it should run in a continuous loop. Let's give it a whirl. Alright, please enter an email. Alright, so we'll do admin@acme.com. Valid email. And look, it prompted us again. Please enter an email address. Alright. Let's do Luke@Skywalker. Oh, it's invalid. We didn't put a domain, top level domain on there, so it's in a .com or .org. Alright. So let's do Luke.com. Oh, it's invalid too. We're missing an @ symbol. Alright, so Luke@Skywalker.ranch. Oh, that's valid. That looks good. Okay. So now I'm done checking emails. What if I want to exit? Just type the word exit, and we're out. So that looks good. And that's how you use a while loop. So you can put multiple conditions here. You can put conditions just like an if statement, and it's just going to check it. But it's going to check it each time it comes to the top of the logic here. It's not going to be sitting here waiting. So it'll iterate through this logic and then come back up. That's why you have to kind of use if and else's if you don't want logic to happen after you set the condition for your while loop. You can also use other functions that you can explore, which is an actual exit function, so you can actually exit out of a program right then and there. So, but those are things you can get to later. These are just the basics of different types of loops in Python. So I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something today. Thanks.